Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mark Skorka, President of Opera America, and welcome to the National Opera Center. For those of you who are familiar friends, welcome back. And for those who are here for the first time, I invite you to walk around the facility once we're done with tonight's program. The Opera Center is brought to life with your presence, so please bring your workshops, your recitals, your rehearsals here to the Opera Center. This evening we have the next installment of our Creators in Concert program. This is a program that is an extension of Opera America's core commitment to supporting the creation and production of new work. Over the years, Opera America has granted more than $13 million to member companies in support of new opera. We also have the New Works Forum here every February, the preeminent gathering of artists and producers from around the country who talk about the conditions that contribute to successful new work. We have our New Works Showcase at the annual conference, travel grants, and all sorts of other support to encourage the cross-fertilization of the field around the creation of new work. This evening we are going to have a wonderful program, excerpts of works, and then conversation with the wonderful composer Paola Prestini. But I wanted to welcome so many other composers who are in the room. There are many of you here. But I wanted to point out that we have that half the words of American opera are here with two of our leading librettists, Royce Vavrick and Mark Campbell. So it is a marriage, excuse me? Is Donna here? I didn't see you. Hi, Donna. I didn't see you. We have 3/4 of the words in American opera are here in the room, going to 100% depending on who I can't see in the audience. Opera is, of course, the fusion of words and music, and today we are so blessed to have so many great librettists and to have so many great librettists with us this evening. The format for the program, Paola is going to guide you through some musical excerpts, and then when they're over, I'm going to come back and we'll have a little conversation about some of the creative inspiration that drives Paola. There'll be an informal reception afterward in the lobby to which you're all invited. So without any further ado, please welcome Paola Prestini.
Such a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and a real honor to be in the Opera Center, the National Opera Center. I am going to, as Mark said, guide you through some works, some which, the first ones which are actually kind of my first explorations into writing for the voice, and all the way into my latest work, which is really just fresh off the page. And I wanted to start by just giving you a little glimpse into what my first relationship with word was, which is that when I came from Italy, I was very young, and we moved to the border between Arizona and Mexico. And I was raised by a single mother who worked full-time, and I had the most extraordinary nanny named Maria. And she sang to me all the time. That was it, just all the time. And I was blessed with a very profound understanding of what song can do from a very early age. And then I left song, and I studied, and I did many different things, and I came back to it really about 6 years ago. And I came back to it, I feel, in the right moment to really be able to understand collaboration in its deepest form, which of course is what one does when you're blessed with incredible librettists. And in my case, I tend to collaborate not just with the written word, but also with visual prompts. And so I'm going to start with a commission that I got several years ago from Concert Artists Guild, and it was to take songs from the 24 songs and arias that spoke to me and reinterpret them. And luckily I had never heard them, which I know sounds kind of scandalous, and I'm only admitting it because it's the truth. And so I hadn't heard them, and I decided at that point that I wouldn't listen to them, because if I had gone, at that point, 20 odd years or however old I was at that point, best to let it be and see what I came up with. And so this is what I came up with. And I'm just going to show you, because when I start a work, what I do is I really create a tableau upon which I put different inspirations. And for a work like this, which is not a collaboration with multimedia, I tend to just kind of put down different prompts. So in this case, I translated the words myself, and then I put down paintings and just certain things that I felt would inspire me and the singer to be on the same page. When I do deep collaborations, I actually do timelines, and those timelines are things that Beth is very familiar with. They're a way for me to communicate with filmmaker and visual artist and so on and so forth. But this This is what I called Cut Him Out in Little Stars. There's three songs from the songs, and they are Danza, Caro mio ben, and Come raggio di sole. And this was really my first attempt to rediscover my Italian roots, and there are in fact fragments of Italian songs laced in here. So with no further ado, I'm going to invite to the stage my dear friends Mimi Watkins and Stephen Gosling. Thank you. We're going to hear a song from an opera in development with Donna Di Novelli called Dideo. And I've written a little bit about it in the program, so I won't speak much, but we're very much at the beginning of this process. And it was inspired by a story of a young child who was lost present day in the foundling systems in Italy, which are essentially these depositories where you can put children, and then they're taken into care. And so this is a scene where a father is essentially has fallen in love and is questioning his faith, and it's one of the storylines in the story. So I welcome David and Stephen back to the stage.
One God, maker of heaven and earth, maker of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible. Visible and invisible, maker of heaven and earth, I believe. If you don't come to me soon, I cannot bear this earth. Please come, bring in the night air, the forgiveness of sins, bring in your shadow to fall upon this marble floor, the resurrection of the body, let it fall upon me. Forgiveness of sins, fall upon me. The resurrection, fall upon me. Forgiveness,
Sorry. So I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about Oceanic Verses. We have a few pieces from it. And it's a work that was a long process in the sense that I think it was probably the work in which I learned the most about myself as a composer and as, you know, a multidisciplinary artist. And it was the brink of a new chapter in my work. And Oceanic Verses essentially is a film opera written with Donna Di Novelli and in partnership with the filmmaker Ali Hosseini. And the process of writing it was very different in that I had chosen certain rituals that I was really interested in and that I had wanted to discover more. And they were rituals ranging from different parts of the southern part of Italy, from Sardinia to Lecce, to the area of Italy called Salento. And these were areas that were heavily populated by immigrants, North Africans, and it was an area that I felt very drawn to because it was an Italy that I could finally relate to. I couldn't really relate to going back to Italy and seeing everyone as white and really skittish about immigration. And all of a sudden, when I went to the South, I felt like I found myself and I found a part of Italy that I could relate to and that I could be proud of. And so the heroine is Helga Davis, who you will hear tonight, and she stars both live and on film. And the three other characters are archetypes. They're a soldier, a peasant, and a a sailor. Thank you. And pardon me. So when we did a fragment of it at Vox, and Donna heard it, and we got together and completed the opera, which was a really beautiful experience. And we went to the South, and essentially what we did was we scouted, we knew that we needed to complete certain film episodes, and so we scouted the South and found many beautiful, kind of decrepit and falling apart buildings that would then become the landscape for the theme of the opera, which is really fading civilizations. We also discovered new rituals. So for example, the cucagna is a ritual in the South where men basically have to run up a greasy, slippery rod, and whoever makes it the furthest up wins. We didn't actually end up using that, but it was really important to be able to see some of these different rituals. And the room up there on the left was a very particular room that basically became the fodder for Femmine, which is a song of workers in the field that says, "Women of the field, you go out in two, but you come back in four." And we scouted a location that we felt would be right for that. These are more locations. And Helga, eventually, we put her in this room and we had her improvise to the room. And what was really interesting was that there were all these wires coming out of the room. And so she knew the song and she had that in her head. And what eventually came out was a real meditation on her own relationship as an African American woman coming to this land and what that room meant to her. And what I found really interesting after is when we finally understood what was in that room, it was actually just wires to hang bread. And that became a really beautiful metaphor for how our understandings change over time, how our relationships when we come from different places mean different things. And that essentially is the meaning of, one of the meanings that really prevails through Oceanic Verses. This is the soldier on film. His name is Emio Greco. He's an extraordinary dancer. And we worked with local dancers to really help us flesh out and understand many of the local songs. And this is the wedding song. So tonight you're going to hear a moment called St. Peter and the Chains, which is written by Donna and is when the soldier finally meets the main character, who's an archaeologist, and they finally see each other, and he tells her his story, and she comes to an understanding of the land. And then you'll hear several arias by the peasant. So this is Oceanic Verses, and let me welcome Helga Davis and David Adam Moore to the stage.
in the line of fire. With all your searching, you never find flesh. That's what they all want, their pound of flesh. The land or the army, they all want flesh.
I find the chain that held St. Peter to a rock. I find the chain a Sister of Mercy wore around her waist. I find the chain that binds a wedding couple in an old Sardinian ritual. I find flesh in its absence. Only flesh tells the story. What is an artifact not touched by flesh? What is an artifact if it's not gotten under our skin? What our flesh desires. What is an artifact if not remnants of a life?
Mark my passing,
Stories
mark
of
my passing, mark my passing, mark my passing.
stories of our bodies, the passing of our flesh.
Mark my passing, mark my passing, mark my passing.
You are not artifact.
By Carico, and they are 3 songs by the peasant. The very first one is called Alla Sulfatara, and this is the image from it. The ritual here is that when 2 people get married in Sardinia a long time ago, they would be chained at the waist, and those chains would help symbolize the weight of that commitment. They would also write their wishes on a pergamena, and they would give it to the church, and the church would keep it safe for 25 years, and after 25 years they would come together with their family, and they would read those wishes, and they would see what was the same and what was different. So this is Alla Sulfatara, followed by Gozos, which is the death of the soldier and when she realizes he is dead, and then Aminia, which is the birth of her child, and which I wrote for my son, Tommaso. So this is Cree and Stephen. The next piece that you're going to hear, also sung by Cree, is called The Hubble. And The Hubble is a piece that I'm working on right now with Royce Fabric, and we've been having a lot of fun working on it. It really came out of a commission from Bay Chamber Concerts, which is a great festival run by our friend Manuel up in Maine. And he was friends with the man who runs the Space Science Telescope Institute in Baltimore. And it turns out that the lead astrophysicist of the Hubble, Mario Livio, is a lover of music, and he has an incredible blog. I'm sorry, am I talking too loud? I am. I'm going to whisper. I'm just joking. He has an incredible blog, and we got to know the blog, we got to know Mario, and what emerged was a piece that will be done in 2015 when the Hubble telescope is retired. At that point, they will bring in a new telescope, and so this is a piece that we're really excited will premiere that wonderful event. The images are by Carmen Cordas. The text, of course, by Royce is inspired by Mario Livio. And I'm going to let you hear a few words from a performance that we just did at BAM as part of 21st Century Liederabend, which is, as many of you know, a series that I co-direct with Beth Morrison. And you'll also hear a few words from Mario, and then we'll hear Cree and Stephen. So here's the film.
All the elements in our bodies that are necessary for life, they were forged inside the nuclear furnaces of stars. Humans and the stars are really connected. They are connected by this enormous cosmic connection which gives rise to both.
Hubble cantata. Thank you, Cree and Stephen.
Eyes to the sky. mother's routine. A childless mother on Jupiter in fetal position. 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 A mother should not outlive her son.
So we're on to the last two songs. I want to tell you a little bit about the next song. It's called Yoani, and it's a work that I'm working on with Royce. And it's a work that's taken a long time to gestate, but I think kind of rightfully so, because we're finding what it needs to be. And it was inspired by a woman named Yoani Sanchez, who, for those of you who don't know, is an extraordinary blogger in Cuba who runs a blog called Generation Y. And this blog is very important because it, in many ways, and of course it's one perspective, and I've learned that speaking about Cuba is a very delicate thing, so I'll keep it short. But essentially, we have been looking at her blogs, and we're very inspired by what she represents in terms of really being an internet revolutionary. And Royce has chosen some texts that I'm very much in love with and reimagined them completely. And they tell the story of everything from the shortage of oranges to what you're going to hear tonight, which is the story of Olivia. And it's the wrenching journey of a trans woman. And this is her story. So this is Olivia with Eve Gigliotti, Wendy Law, and my dear friend Gian Riley. Please welcome them to the stage.
Oh,
piece. This is a piece called The Colorado, and it is inspired by the filmmaker who's here tonight, Murat Eyüboğlu, who's an extraordinary human. And Murat set out a few years ago to really do a story about the Colorado River. And he came to me eventually and said, I would love for Vision into Art to produce this. And we really bonded on many different things, among which this was my first return to the Colorado River Basin. And the Colorado is a story about water, land, and survival. The piece you're going to hear unites all the singers that you've heard. I'm going to play you a short trailer so you see what the visuals are about, since they so much inform the piece. And then I'll welcome the singers to the stage. Thank you so much for going on tonight's journey with me. It's a real honor to be here, and I'm very grateful. So what you see here is my logic session, which is not that interesting, but there it is. This is what happens when I'm a sound designer. All right, so I'd like to... My goodness. All right, sorry guys. I'd like to welcome to the stage all the singers. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Yeah, okay. All right.
Mater castissima, Mater inviolate. Mater purissima, Mater castissima, Mater
wonderful journey through your music and your work. I know we're waiting for a little bit of a set change here, so please have a seat.
Okay.
And I can take this one from over here. Terrific. I have a few questions for you before we then have a little refreshment outside.
Sounds good.
Congratulations on, is this your conducting debut?
Yes. Yes.
We won't tell anyone. This is we have a worldwide live stream here, but we'll keep it a complete secret. You know, I look at the titles of your works, I mean, Hubble Cantata, Oceanic Verses, Aging Magician, and others that we've heard tonight. These aren't stories based on popular novels or films the way so many other operas are these days. What is the source of your creative inspiration?
Well, I mean, they range from life history and wanting to discover certain things to people that I meet, you know? So I think one of the things, and my friends will tell you this about me, is that I'll never say no to meeting someone. You know, it's the most exciting thing in the world is when you have the opportunity to meet somebody new. And a lot of those meetings have turned into the seeds of ideas that have then been developed. And so I guess bottom line is I'm open and I'm lucky, you know?
Because we think of composers as rather solitary creatures, where they have a musical idea, they want to develop it in front of their computer at the piano. They do communicate, of course, back and forth with the librettist. But what I'm hearing you say is that you are just a much more collaborative artist, that you don't think of yourself in that stereotypic sense of the isolated composer.
Yeah, definitely I'm not an isolated composer. I don't think I could work that way. I mean, I need that isolation when I write music, but in terms of the stories that I want to tell, I'm not writing music because I have to. I mean, I'm writing music because there are stories that are happening to me that I'm chronicling. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm not out there looking for stories. They're explorations that are helping me live, are helping me understand my surroundings better, and they're journeys that I go on with my collaborators that are lifelong partnerships and that I find incredibly enriching.
I heard you say, I made a note at the back of the room, that working, I guess, with Royce, was it, where you said that you're finding what the piece needs to be?
Yes.
And what is that process like of finding what the piece needs to be? How does the piece let you know what it needs to be?
Well, I think that comes out of the luxury and also the difficulty of self-producing or co-producing. I'm very fortunate to produce many works with Beth, but I mean, I think part of that is that when a piece isn't picked up, say, you don't want to just let it go because it's not finding its home. You know, there's a reason you're writing that piece, and so there's something. I mean, with Yoani specifically, what we've come to, I think, is a much deeper understanding that the piece actually needs to be sung by many different types of women. So, you know, a jazz singer, a classical opera singer, a rock star, and that, in fact, we're telling the story of many women through one woman's perspective. And we probably wouldn't have come to that if we had been commissioned to finish the piece. And I believe very strongly in long processes. I can also write very quickly. So both of those, I think, allow me to kind of take the opportunities at hand. If it's a commission, then you better believe I'm going to meet it. If it's something that's self-initiated, then I may take a longer road, specifically because I have the luxury to self-produce and to find its own way,
So
to have the piece find its own way.
Are works ever finished for you, or do you just stop working on them?
No, works are definitely at some point finished.
You'll just let us know when.
They are finished.
Your bio speaks a lot about your creation of multimedia works.
Mm-hmm.
And in this age of porous creative boundaries, do you think of your works as operas?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I think that there are operatic qualities and tendencies to them, but I've learned that the word opera is very sacred to many people, and I think it's really important to, I've found, to describe your works as best you can before others describe it for you. And I say that because, for example, with Oceanic Verses, you know, to me, it was an opera. But I've learned that it's perhaps more of an operatic tableau or more of an oratorio, and that these terms exist for a reason. And they exist because they exist in certain, you know, they allow people to understand what spaces they fit in, what audiences to, you know, to present the works to. And so I'm constantly working on what to call my pieces. Mm-hmm. It is something I'm very conscious of. And I do believe that I can write traditional operas, and I am writing one, but yes, my multimedia works tend to blur the lines.
Mm-hmm. Wonderfully.
Long answer, sorry.
No. Wonderfully. Call it opera. If it's good, just call it opera. If it's not good, call it something else. You're co-founder of Vision into Arts. Uh-huh. You're creative director of Original Music Workshop in Williamsburg. Your bio speaks about you as a composer impresario. I think of you as the embodiment of the contemporary entrepreneurial artist.
Thank you.
What do all those words mean for you?
Well, first of all, I want to be very clear that I don't think that composers need to have all those hats. Those are the hats that I found myself naturally having and also needing to have. I think that we all need to find our space in this world, and when you have something to say, you will do anything to say it. And in order for me to be where I am right now, it became very evident that I needed to be certain things. And so for me, being a 21st century artist means hopefully having talent, and I hope I do, but mixing that with a sense of entrepreneurship, a sense of activism, and also being passionate about education. I do think that all artists need to be one or two of those things, because otherwise we are responsible for the place we are in, and we can't complain, if we're having a hard time. Mm-hmm. So we do have to be more active, and I'm very, very excited because all of my colleagues are very active and are doing extraordinary things.
So did you become an artist impresario out of need to advance your work, or was it a vision of you because you can be an artist, you can be artistic as an impresario as well as artistic as a composer.
Yeah.
Is your sense of your own creativity as impresario, or is it out of necessity that you became an impresario?
I mean, I'm sorry, I think it's both. I wish I could be more black and white, but I really think it's both. I think part of it was that I was drawn to these other parts of myself, and that I didn't want to necessarily cut one of those things out. I admit that because I nurtured so many strains of my personality, I got there later, if you will, but I wouldn't change anything because it allows me to have the kind of life that I have. And I think there was also a very specific moment where things changed, which is that I had applied for this thing called the Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship for New Americans, and I needed it in order to go to school. Like, if I didn't get this fellowship, I was going to be in trouble, and I got it. And I remember going to my first meeting with Paul and Daisy and all the fellows and hearing everyone talk about their experience as immigrants, their experience doing unbelievable things, from sustainable business practices to working with, to being doctors. I mean, they were doing such important things. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, like I'm so lucky to be part of this crowd. And it keyed in that I have a responsibility, and it stuck. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just fantastic that you juggle all of it and do it so well. You have had so many residencies, Mass MoCA, the Armory here in New York, yes, and others. We've heard about how being an impresario fits into your life as a composer. How do residencies support you as a creative artist?
I mean, they're extraordinarily important because they allow you the time to actually work with your collaborators. So if you have a big team of collaborators, you actually can't create your work without residencies, because it allows you to bring together both the artistic team and the technical team to create the vision. It also, for many people, residencies allow you to escape your everyday life and to kind of create in a little bit more of a vacuum. And that can be very helpful as well, because New York has got so much stimulus, or it helps very much to be able to go away. And so there's both the technical and the practical, and also the kind of emotional need.
Because the residencies are different durations,
yeah,
and I think your residency at the Armory is for a year?
Yes.
I mean, is that an unusual length of a residency?
No. Yes. No. Yes. I think not for the Armory is right. It's not. It's not for the Armory. It's. I think what the Armory does is they want people to come together and to really, have that time in the space, which is so magical, to create and to show, to show workshops throughout. And that is where we're developing Aging Magician.
When is the next time in New York that we get to hear your work?
Thank you for asking. Well, we are recording Oceanic Verses on Governor's Island in late April, and then we will have a showing at the very beginning of July at the Park Avenue Armory with the Brooklyn Youth Chorus, Julian Crouch and Rindy Eckert.
Wow, just another great collaboration.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
It's very exciting.
Well, I don't want to take any more of our time or your time. I know people would like to ask you questions out at the reception this evening. So let me just say congratulations for all you do and do so well. Thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you soon at the Opera Center, but join me in thanking Paola Prestini.